Okay, well, we'll get started. Can everyone hear me on the presenter side? We have the participants muted, and the reason we do that is because sometimes people's dogs bark or a lawnmower goes off or something happens, and so we need to mute your questions. What we'd like you to do is type in any questions in the question box, not the chat box. So if you do have questions, we will read them and answer them toward the end. So please do that. We'd like to give you a warm welcome. We think you'll have a good view of 4 very good products, good Microsoft products. We've got a pretty diverse audience here. We've got Microsoft people, we've got prospective clients, we've got existing clients considering other products. And so we're excited to provide a little bit of education here to you today. The agenda is I'll introduce the 3 speakers, and they'll talk about out-of-the-box functionality. The products that we're highlighting will be Dynamics SL, very project-oriented, good solid program. GP, which has 50,000 customers in the United States, a big product, kind of the 800-pound gorilla here in the United States, with financial modules being especially strong. And then NAV, which is a very fast, scalable product with strong distribution, financial. It does a lot of things well. And then Dynamics 365 for Financials is about a 5-month-old product that Microsoft has come out with. It's completely cloud-based, and it's something that I'm sure many of you will want to see as well. So we'll do a quick question and answer at the end, and I think we'll move on from there. So some of the problems we're looking to help you resolve is eliminating islands of information. All of these products have very good tools for integration. So you've got web services, you've got import tools, you've got tools that validate data as it comes in. So if you want to integrate, or you just want to use more modules, maybe you've got ledger receivables, payables, and then you've got a disjointed other system, and you could start using the sales order, inventory, purchasing modules within the one source. So we're really focused at helping you eliminate spreadsheets and having too many systems, not only keying the data in twice, but having to reconcile between the different systems. Our focus is on making you self-sufficient so you're not relying on us, and then we're helping you to think through some of the process improvements that you want to make as we implement the software. And so we're giving advice on the best way we think you should do it so that you can benefit from our experience. And then the other thing I wanted to share is that we're providing every related service to the things that you don't want to do. So we'll do project management work, implementation work, configuration, support, integrations, customizations, report development. We basically do everything around each of these products so that we can supplement the implementation work. And then, so this is who we are. I'm Jack Boyer. I started the company in 1994. I mostly focus on business development here. Marcus Haug will be presenting the NAV and the Dynamics 365 products. Dynamics 365 is based on NAV, so Marcus will build those products will look similar for you. Marcus has implemented Epicor, 10 years of Epicor experience. He's implemented Dynamics GP, Dynamics SL, NAV, done these unassisted in many cases, so very capable resource. Colleen McCoshen is our Dynamics SL practice leader, and Colleen's a very strong accountant, a very good technical person. She's been with us for 20 years and has helped a lot of clients, both large and small, over those years. And then Eric Vigasa is a former Great Plains person from Fargo originally, and Eric has an extensive consulting background and has done allowed us to support some very large GP clients due to the depth of expertise that you get actually working for GP and the type of training that they do. So that's our introduction. Making businesses better. This is why we're in business. This is what we do. And so what we do is we really focus on the outcomes. If we come in and we're talking about we want to prevent your islands of information from continuing to happen, well, that's what we focus on. If you say what I need to do is speed up order entry, we focus on the outcome of what you're looking for, not in selling you software. So making your business better is a big thing that we do. That's why we offer quarterly events toward helping your business get better. For example, on April 17th, we're doing an event that will help you to increase your sales, because that's what a lot of people want to do. We've got a lot of nonprofit clients that want to increase their fundraising. This has nothing to do with accounting software. We're doing this to make your business better. So that really is our mantra and why we come to work every day. Real quick, the first 3 bullets there, really, these are proof that we can help you. We've been in business a long time, 325 clients, most of which are local, and then a 97% renewal rate is a very high renewal rate considering companies merge, they go out of business, they move off of products for reasons that have nothing to do with us. So we're losing very few clients, and so those first 3 bullets are really a testament to you can trust us. We've been doing this, we're good at this. And then the last bullets are, hey, we're offering 4 different very good name brand products from Microsoft. So we're not doing a one-size-fits-all. We're saying, hey, we're going to fit the software to your issues so that there's a good match there. And so what we'll be presenting today with the 4 presenters today we'll be showing will be out-of-the-box functionality of how these products work. Some of these products are very customizable, others aren't, and the presenters will be able to discuss that with you as they do their presentations. So at this point, I will hand it over to Colleen McCoshen for the Dymanic SL part. Thanks, Colleen.
Thanks, Jack. Well, good morning. My name is Colleen McCoshen, and today I will be showing you the Dymanic SL, one of the Microsoft product offerings we have here at Boyer & Associates. This is Dymanic SL 2015, and today I will be showing you some user interface, what it's known for, project accounting, and multi-company. So first with the user interface. On the left-hand side, you can see it groups modules by financial, project, orders, and the menu changes when we click on those. The menu also will change based on security access rights. So if right now I'm in as the SL admin and I'm a power user, so you can see the plentiful options of reports, screens, and also each section. So we're on the accounts payable right now. It has a maintenance section, input section, processes, inquiries, setup, and reports. So that's how each of the different sections are organized. Up at the top of the menu, it allows for you to go back and navigate to past screens you have been to, so it jumps to them much quicker. It'll bring the screen right up. So that's a nice feature. Another search ability is up here in the left-hand corner. We can search based off just keywords. If you remember one keyword for what you're looking for, it'll bring up all those options on the menu. Another nice feature the user interface has is this home section where we have favorites, where we can add specific screens from the Dymanic SL product, and we can also add outside products and websites. So it allows for a home section where people can operate from. Next, I will show you some screen interface. So this is the journal transaction screen. At the top, each screen, you will have these navigation items. You have a new, a save, cancel, delete, and finish, with some navigation arrows to go from the first journal to the last journal. You can print the screen or a quick print, and the other option here is a grid to Excel. The other nice thing about our Dynamics SL screens is you can do an F3 in lots of fields. F3 means a possible value list. These can also be changed. We can add different fields to these PV lists. We can click on these columns to alphabetize them, sort them in different ways to look for data. Another nice feature is we can drop this arrow down here and we can say we want to find, in this instance, we want to find a batch that only has a status of H. So that allows us to quickly jump to that batch. Another nice option, which is on most entry screens, is once you have data in your grid, you can use this button here to use Grid to Excel. What this does is it drops your entry right into Excel for the user then to do whatever they need to do, delete lines, add totals up, save it, send it to someone. So that is the user interface for a screen, a typical screen. Now I'll show you the user interface for the Detailed General Ledger report as an example. This is the Detailed General Ledger report. We can have multiple formats of reports. One nice feature is on the Select tab. You can do F3 again, and it will show you the different fields that are available for you to filter on. So for this example, I'm going to choose that I only want to see accounts that are between 6,000 and 6,999. I also want to see just a sub-account of 30. And then we can do a print preview. And in each print preview of a report, you can email this directly to someone. You can print it, you can export it. So those are nice options. Another option to quickly get to your data is to jump down here and keep clicking those arrows and say you want to jump to account 6710. So you can do that way. We can also have multiple companies open at the same time. This is one nice feature of Dynamics SL. So I will have the journal entry screen open in company Contoso Business Solutions, or CBS. I can then, up on the menu, click the Contoso Business Solutions and change it to Contoso America. Once I have that company open, now I still have, as you can see, the Business Solutions, Contoso Business Solutions journal still up. I can go anywhere then in CAI and choose to open another screen. So this allows the user to be in multiple companies doing multiple things and going back and forth to the different companies. Another nice feature that you'll see in all of the screens is the help menu. This is specific help, so while I'm in journal transactions and I click on the question mark, it'll drop me right to the help section of journal transactions, which is very good help. Another great way to get data out of your system, which Dynamics SL 2015 now has, is something called Quick Query. Right off the menu, we can give our users access rights to the plentiful quick queries that come out of the box. They are in groupings by financial, as you can see, foundation, inventory has its own quick queries. And what these are really select statements, if you're familiar with Microsoft SQL query. So it allows the users um, to get information out of the system without having access to SQL Server, which we wouldn't want end users to have. We can also create custom queries and add them to the quick query menu. So this can be a very powerful tool. So I will take you into the financial area, into General Ledger. And if I click once on the journal transactions, I just want to show you how powerful these can be. Well, okay, here it comes. Oh, I was getting worried there. So it does load, as you can see in this demo database, it does load all of the entries that have hit the journal transactions. So, for some of our customers that have been using Dynamics SL for quite a while, we would want to refine the search so it wouldn't bring back so many records and be a delay. So when this does load, you can right-click. We can again click on these titles, the columns, and it sorts them. You can right-click and we can choose different columns into these queries real easily by saying add the ledger ID, and perhaps I want to delete or remove the original company and just say OK. Those changes then that I added over here, the ledger ID is now over to the right. So again, this is the GL Tran table for the journal transactions. Very good information. So let's take this and look and say, okay, maybe the auditors are in and I want to find everything in my GL that has something to do with meals. Okay, so very quickly I can then do a quick search on transaction description, and perhaps then I want to also add another filter, and I only want the journal type that is equal to T&E because those are expenses. I tab off that line, and now I only have 76 rows. So that seems about right. That's the data I'd like to. Now I can, here again, I can do grid to Excel, and I can copy to a table. I can do a refreshable query, and even a pivot table. So very powerful and easy to use. Will not save that. All right, so now I'm going to go back into my company CBS, again showing that we can have multiple companies and it's very easy to go back and forth. Under administration, I want to show you in company maintenance all the different companies I have set up. As you can see, we have multiple companies that are using one application database. And this is where the multi-company will be very powerful for us. If I look at the All menu and go to Multi-Company, I want to show you how easy it is to set up the intercompanies. So this is the screen where you would set up your due tos and due froms. So as you can see, my CAI, my Contoso America, is set up to do multi-company in all these different companies. And then these are the due to and due from. So that's pretty much basically the setup of multi-company. I'll show you what a journal entry looks like. The journal entry, so you enter your journal entry, and when you release it, the system automatically then does the due tos and due froms. So this is a journal entry where we've done journals to different companies in, while in one company, and then the system does this intercompany entry, the 1801. I can then go, I want to show you if I go into CAI, so that was journal 263. If I go into financial, general ledger, and look at my account detail for 5100, which was a journal, and I can see then that yes, this did come from journal 263, and it did end up at CAI. So the multi-company is very easy to set up and works real great. So the last thing I want to show you is projects. Project accounting is something Dynamics SL is real strong at. I'm going to show you under the Contoso Business Solutions, under the project, we have several different modules. The project controller is the core module that is required to run any type of project accounting. The connection between project controller and general ledger is the account categories. Account categories are a way to group transactions logically. So instead of using numbers, what we do with account categories is we can use numbers, but and letters. So like labor down here is connected to these GL accounts. So the connection is made, this is grayed out and we can't change it, the connection is actually made in general ledger. So that's how we connect the financial system to the project system. I will show you, so the sources of entries can come from time and expense, so this is another module, so we can enter time cards. I'll show you a time card quick. So we enter time, and the time and the travel expenses. We can all code to projects and tasks. Other sources can come from the financial module. I will show you a voucher. So we can do accounts payable entries to projects. So in the voucher entry, we can choose the project and task that we want this entry to go to. And we can also do GL entries to projects. So once project is activated, the project and task fields become activated in the different submodules. So again, here's an example of a journal entry posting to a project and task. We can set that up to financially transfer automatically. And this is the screen then that's running automatically in the background. We can drop this arrow down and see all the different modules that this will bring financial data over into the project tables. So once the financial transaction transfer has happened, the allocator again will run in the background. But what we do is we set up steps and methods, and we take basically those source transactions, and we can do different things to them, mark them up by units, different rates for the labor hours. We can add overhead. There's many, many things that we can do. So then we allocate all of those records, and we can then go into the next module, flexible billings, and we load those and we can create invoicing. And then these invoices are approved, time cards can be approved, expense reports can be approved, and these invoices can be approved, printed, and just show you a quick invoice. Once these are printed, and we can then run a process to post them to the ledger. So it would hit the aging on the customer, and it would create a general ledger entry for revenue. Now, the real powerful piece of project is getting a P&L basically for a project. So in the Analyzer module, we can click on a project and do Project Net Profit. And if we've done a good job organizing our account categories, you can see we've organized them by revenue, our labor, our expenses, with our sub T&M. We can do purchase orders to get commitments. So then it gives us a true P&L at any time. So this is our revenue, these are our costs, and these are our projects. So this is month to date, project to date. We can do, like I said, labor commitments, purchase order commitments to give you a total idea of where your project is from a profitability standpoint. So that was a quick overview of just a glimpse of the project software, how Dymanic SL, it can easily accomplish multi-company and give you a general idea of the user interface. Eric?
All right, thank you, Colleen. So we're going to take a look at Dynamics GP now. I'm going to just step through, I'll bring it up here, step through kind of some general navigation of Dynamics GP, available modules that you have. We're going to look at Smart Lists and then something called Smart List Designer. We're going to look at document attachment, some workflow processes, and then we'll wrap up with a requisition module that GP has and how that kind of works with the GP workflows. So what we have here is our main area page in Dynamics GP. And on this, you've got some certain sections here, and the users can control what they see and how they want to see it. So this first section here is a to-do section. So I've just got a couple of reminders here. I've got some customers over a credit limit. I've got some receivables due today. I can add additional reminders in here. These reminders that I've got displayed here are actually attached into the Smart List tool, which we're going to show you. It's very, very similar to the Quick Query tool. As you'll see, there's going to be a lot of similarities between these four products and some uniqueness as well. Over here, I've got a business analyzer section. So this actually gives me some reports and some KPIs that I can look at that is linked into SQL reporting services. So again, the nice thing with all these products really is that they do talk to Microsoft products together. So if I click on the little change details here, it's going to pull up a bunch of available reports that I can put in here. I can create additional ones as well if I want, but these are all out-of-the-box reports. Everything you're going to look at today on the GP side is out of the box. There's no custom reporting as well. What I've got here is two reports that I'm interested in. I want to look at my customer sales by territory and then also my top vendors by purchases. So I'll just cancel there. So here's my year-to-date sales by state. If I want to interact with this report, I can. If I just hover here and I can click on this View Report, what it's going to do is it's now going to launch the SQL Reporting Services report and pull up the map. So now I can see where all of our sales are. And maybe I'm interested, what's going on in Illinois. It looks like we're having a pretty good year there so far. So I can actually click on the state of Illinois, and it's going to drill down. And so now I can actually see my detailed customers and the year-to-date sales that we currently have on them, as well as the salesperson ID here. So some nice interaction with reporting. And I can also click the arrow here so I have a top 5 vendors report as well. And same thing, if I want to interact with this, I can certainly go and view the report. Otherwise, I can just leave it like this. That's all the information I want to see is just who are we spending money with. Another section that you see here is our quick links. So quick links are meant to just be quick shortcuts to get to certain windows in GP. I'm going to talk about this Excel dashboard in a second, but if I want to just go into the vendor maintenance screen quick, I can just click on vendor, pulls up my vendor maintenance screen, And then I can do searches for certain vendors. So if I want to pull up Metro Business, it sees that I've already selected Metro Business in the past, but maybe I've got another vendor that starts with MET. So I can click there, and it's doing a search here for me. Well, maybe I don't know the vendor ID, but I know the name. So I can click on name instead, and I can go to Metro, tab off. And so now it brings me to my vendor name as well. Maybe I'm not sure what the name is or the vendor ID, so I've got some additional sorts here that I can search on. Or if I really want to, I can click on the binoculars here, and I've now got basically every single field. If I switch this to all columns, I've got every single field related to my vendor that I'm able to search on in order to find this vendor. Typically, we know the name or the ID, so we don't need to quite do this as much, but if I know the city or the phone number, something like that, that can help me quickly search for my vendors. So go ahead and close that. A procurement section here, so we'll talk about requisitions towards the end, but here it just shows me I'm creating some requisitions in the system. It shows kind of the summary there, and then if I scroll down here, it shows all of my current requisitions that I've got entered. It shows who it's assigned to, so here's a supply order that's pending approval by Adam Barr, and here's a larger requisition for $40,000 that is actually pending approval by Carol. If I scroll to the right, then I can see these last two here have actually been completed, so those are ready for purchase if we want to. And finally, down here at the bottom is some reports that I can run. I've got a all vendors report that I click on, and what this will actually do is launch a smart list here for me. So this is very similar again to the quick query where I can pull up my vendor listing. So now I want to start fine-tuning this a little bit. So I'm going to do a search in here, and I'm going to go look for 1099 type. I'm going to switch this to columns, 1099 type, and I'm going to say it is not equal to, not a 1099 vendor. So what this is going to do is return all of my vendors who I've got set up in the system as a 1099. I can change sorting here if I want. I can add columns, so I actually want to add a tax registration number because I want to make sure we've got our tax IDs for all of our vendors. So we'll go look for that tax number. So here it gets me to the tax registration number, say OK. Now it refreshes again, so now I've got a few missing here. So this is what I want to make sure is that we've got these on file. If I want, I can dump this to Excel. So I can click the Excel button, and it exports these results to Excel. So all these smart lists that are available can export to Excel. I can also click on the Word button here, and I can do a vendor letter. And so what this is actually doing now is essentially a mail merge with Word, where I can do a request for W-9, click Next. I can select all these vendors if I want, or at this point I can uncheck a few if we don't need them. Click Next. I'll finish here. And so again, you're seeing the interaction between GP and just the other suite of Microsoft products. So it looks like that mail merge is completed down here. So here's where I've got a letter now. It's just bringing in some fields from GP. And then I've got a second letter down here as well for another vendor. So then I can go ahead and mail those out. The other thing I can do here is I want to be able to remind myself when we've got a lot of vendors that are missing the tax registration. So what I'm going to do here is do a favorite. And I'm going to set this up as missing tax ID. And I'm going to add it as a favorite and a reminder. So what I'm going to do is I want to be reminded when the number of records here is greater than 3 so that it actually pops up for me. So let's set that to 3, say OK. And I want to fine tune this a little bit more as well. So I actually want to search where that registration number is blank. So I'm going to do a search. Let's change this to the tax registration number is equal to blank. Say OK. And so now I've just got those 4 records. So we'll go ahead and save that change. And now I'm going to close this. I'm going to bring up this home page again here. And so now we've got this missing tax ID of 4. So I can go ahead and click on it right from my reminders. It's telling me that I've got some vendors that we're missing information on, and here it pulls it up. So now if I've sent out that W-9 letter and Beaumont's come back and they've actually returned the W-9 form to me, I can go ahead and click on Beaumont right here and it opens up right from that smart list. It pulls up the GP window for me. So now here I'm able to go into options and I can put in Beaumont's tax number. Say OK. The other thing I can do as well with GP here is I've got this paperclip icon up here. So I can actually attach documents related to Beaumont. So I can click on that attachment. I'm going to go ahead and click attach. And here I've got a completed W-9. I'm going to open that up. And so now this W-9 form is sitting with Beaumont Construction. I can go ahead and click preview. And so here's Phil's completed W-9, complete with their ID number. And so now this is saved with the vendor record. If I go ahead and hit OK, you can see that that paperclip changes to now show that there's a piece of paper attached to there. So that whenever I pull up Beaumont, if I want to just click on this again, I can always pull up this document. So we can attach PDFs, Word documents, Excel documents, any kind of a document can get attached here with this record. And so now if I just go ahead and refresh this, now that that tax registration number didn't hold. Oh, I forgot to hit save. So let's say OK there. We'll save this time. Now when we refresh, so now Beaumont's dropped off of this report. So now I've only got 3 vendors here. So if I've got another one, I can go ahead and pull them up and enter in that registration number. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back into my smart list. I'm going to go ahead and add a standard toolbar here, though. So GP actually lets you add in some kind of additional quick links up here. And one of the quick links I have here is the smart list. So it's the light bulb with the sheet of paper. So when I click on that now, it pulls up all of my different smart lists. So again, with GP, you control who sees what in the system, so you don't have to open this all up. But if I go to financial, we've got account transactions, accounts. If I look at fixed assets, I can pull up my fixed assets. Inventory, I've got my items, item transactions. With purchasing, I can look at vendors, purchasing transactions, payables transactions. If I look at sales, I got my customers, but I'm more interested in my sales line items here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on sales line items and look at this default smart list here. So it's showing me my orders, my invoices. I've got my cost, my price, and just some additional information. Again, I can do additional columns here. I can do filtering. One thing, though, on this smart list here that I want is I actually want to see gross profit by line. But if I come down here into the G's, let me just search for gross. It doesn't return anything. This one report doesn't actually have a gross profit in here. So that's something I really want to look at. I'm really interested in. So what I actually can do is create a custom smart list now using Smart List Designer, which again is just a piece of GP. So up here I can click on New, and it opens up this little report tool for me. So I can call this Sales Line with Gross Profit. I want it to be in my sales folder. So in here now, what you can do is you can link virtually any single table within GP and create a report. The other thing that's nice though too is I'm going to go to views. So Microsoft's actually done a lot of the heavy lifting for me already, and they've created a view in here that I can use for my report. So there's going to be a sales transactions view. So here's my sales line item. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And so now this view will show me every single available field that I have for the report. So I'm interested in my SOP type. I want my SOP number, item number, description, quantity, cost and price. How about customer number as well? And I think that's probably good. All right, so we'll bring those in. So I can also do some filtering here. So with the sales order module, it's an ability to go to quote order, invoice, back order, returns. But for this one, I'm really only interested in what's been invoiced. So I'm going to go ahead and do a filter here on SOP type is, and my value can be invoice. So that's going to make sure I only get my invoices returned. So I can go ahead and execute this query and just see what this report looks like. So here it shows me my invoices. I've got my quantity, cost, price, and so forth. Well, now what I want to do is add that gross profit into here. So I'm going to click on the calculation button here, and I can add a new calculated field that I can call gross profit. It's going to be a currency field. And so now I just write my calculation. I'm going to do extended price minus, I gotta do a function here, minus, and we'll do extended cost. All right, so we'll save that. Tells me that the field is valid. Say OK. So now we're going to go ahead and hit OK on this. And we'll look at the smart list. So here's my smart list now that I've just created. It's got my quantity, my cost, my price. If I actually want price to pull up in front, I can click on columns here. I can highlight price and move that up one and say OK. And now I want to get that gross profit column on here as well. So if I hit columns, oh, we actually got to refresh the smart list here. So let's go ahead and modify this. So there's my gross profit. Say OK, it's added it in. We've got this little icon next to here though where I can actually choose if I want to display dollar amounts or if I want decimal places. So I'll set that to 2 decimal places. Now click OK. So there at the right we can see our gross profit. You can see here how these have 2 decimal places. These are returning 5 because I didn't set that criteria. And then again, if I want this in Excel at this point, I can click on Excel, or I can do a searching and I can do specific searches. So maybe there's a specific customer number I want. And again, in here, I can sort by any of these fields. So maybe I want to see which ones are my high-priced items and look at my profitability that way. So once this has been built with Designer, now this looks and acts and feels like a standard smart list for any of my users. So I grant users access to this folder here, and then they're able to do their own analysis on here. All right, so some other ways to navigate around the system here is I can click on these pages here as well. So I can click on the financial page. And what that now does is it changes my home page to be everything financial related. So here I've got general transactions I can do, bank transactions, I can do my bank reconciliation in here. If I go to sales, here's where my customers are. Again, I can do sales transactions, I can do cash application here. I've got inquiry windows, lots of reporting, purchasing, requisitions, purchase orders, payables documents. Here's where I can do my checks. And again, with these area pages, there's a lot of information here, but this will be filtered down to just what your users have access to. So you control all security to all these different windows within GP. So if I'm a user and I don't have the ability to do checks, I don't even see this option here. And then likewise with inventory as well, we've got the ability to set up our catalog of items. We can do bill of materials, item transfers, transactions, assemblies, and so forth. All right, so I'm going to go back to my home page. Another reporting option we have here is GP's got the ability, so not only does it use SQL reporting services for reports, but it also uses Excel for reports. So here's some, again, some default Excel refreshable reports I'm going to click on right from my quick links. So again, these quick links can also go to outside programs such as Excel. So here's just a sales dashboard now that Microsoft's already created for me. So I can instantly see my top 5 customers, my top salespeople, I've got an aging here and my sales by territory. So this is all real-time data as transactions are changing in the system, and I open this up, this will refresh for me and pull up new information. So these are ways that we can get information to people outside of GP as well. They've got access to Excel, and if they have access to where these reports sit, they absolutely can open them up and look at it. And again, we've got financial reports, we've got purchasing reports, inventory reports, sales reports, etc. So I'll just go ahead and close that. Another way again to navigate here is go to the sales page. Here again is where I can open up my customers if I need to add a customer. Again, the lookups are just similar on the vendor side where I can search by customer name if I want. I can click on the binoculars, and again this search looks the same as we looked at with the smart list, so a lot of similar functionality here, and I can go and find my customers. Another quick area though where I can look at information is on this, these navigation lists. So I'm going to click on this customer balance navigation list. This will pull up a report. So here I've got a list of all my customers, the state that they're in, phone number, contact, and then their current balance as well. So what I can do with this as well is, again, similar to Smart Lists, although there's a nice little reporting function here, is I can do searches. So I want to look for my Illinois customers again. So I'm going to change this to be state is Illinois. We'll put that restriction in. And once this refreshes here, so now I've got all of my Illinois customers sorting by balance. So I'm interested in a couple of my customers as well. So I've got my agent report off to the side here. And so if I go ahead and click a couple of customers, we'll actually see that this agent report will shift based on the people I select here. And again, this agent report is built off of the Microsoft SQL Reporting Services Foundation. So I'll go ahead and refresh this report. So now you can see that I've got two customers here. The blue line is Central Illinois. The yellow line is Kim Johnson. And so I can see that they're both past due 181 days, and they've got also my largest balance for Illinois. So here's where I could call up the account rep or the sales rep and say, we really got to get on our collections for these two customers because their balance is past due. So again, this type of functionality exists in all the other areas of GP as well. Same with purchasing. We can go look at purchase orders for vendors or vendor balances. I'm actually going to go into purchasing here as well. I'll discard that change. And I can look at my purchasing requisitions here that's submitted. So again, changing this purchasing page to look at specifically requisitions. So here I've got two requisitions that are pending action. So this first one here is requisition 1. It's for printer paper, $285, and it's pending approval by Adam. And I've got another one here for Carol, which looks like we got a UPS rack for $40,000. If I go ahead and select this requisition, when I check that requisition, you can see I'm logged in as myself, as Eric, and I don't have much that I can do with that requisition, so I can't approve it, I can't reject it. It's because it's Carol who's the one now who has to take the next step. The only thing I can do is recall it if I want to make a change, but then I've got to submit it through workflow again. If I click on this arrow, I can click on View Workflow History, and so it's actually going to show me now the steps that this workflow has gone through. So here, I was the first user who submitted it, and it went to this step to Adam to approve it. Because this workflow was over $500, it required approval by Adam. And then Adam approved it on March 21st, and then it went on to Carol because it's now over $20,000. So let's go take a look at the setup of that workflow and how we accomplish that. So I'm going to go back to my home page, and I've got my workflow maintenance set up here. So here's all the different areas of workflow that GP can handle. So we've got purchasing areas where we can do payables transactions, purchase orders, requisitions, vendors. I can look at financial. We can do GL batches. On the sales side, we can do receivables transactions, payroll. We've got employee information, time cards, direct deposits. Project, we can do expenses and timesheets related to projects. I'm going to go ahead and go back to purchasing. I want to look at this requisition one that I have here. So I've got this as an active workflow, and I've got just two steps here. So I've got when it's over $500, it needs to go to the workflow manager. Let me go ahead and pull up that step here. So it's using the workflow manager. So this is actually using our Active Directory. So in our Active Directory, we can set up our employee hierarchy. So I report to Adam, and Adam in turn reports to Carol. So now if I have a PO that's over $20,000, it actually skips a level of my and goes up to my manager's manager essentially. So it now needs two layers of approval. It not only needs my manager to approve it, but it needs my manager's manager, which is Carol, to approve it as well, just when we're over $20,000 on these workflows. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new requisition here. So I've got the requisition screen opened up here, and I can go ahead and just start entering a new requisition if I want. But what I can also do is go to actions, and I can copy from an existing requisition. So what's nice here is I can actually create templates that I do frequently purchases of. So I can select that template and go ahead and click copy, and it's going to bring in those lines for me. So I'm going to go ahead and just collapse this. So here's the transaction here. So we're going to order 10 cases of paper, but maybe now I want to change that. So instead of 10, I actually need to get 20 cases of paper in here. And we got toner, and then if I wanted to add additional lines to this, I certainly can, because at this point now it's a brand new requisition for me. I'll go ahead and leave that though. And so now I can either save it if I want to come back and work on it, or I can submit this into approval. So this again is my requisition 5. I'm going to go ahead and click submit. I can put a little note on here if I want. So maybe I want to say, Adam, please approve quickly, since we're out of paper, so I can hit submit. And now this is going to go out and it's going to create a task for Adam to approve this workflow. It will send out an email. I'm not set up right now to do email, but it can send out an email to Adam as well, requesting approval. And if we've got GP Web Services installed, it can actually allow Adam to approve this from within Outlook. So we can actually have people who are not GP users be able to view and approve requisitions. So let me go back and look at that requisition 5 that we sent. I will select that one. It's going to take me just a minute. So here now I can see that it's approving, pending approval by Adam Barr. If I go to actions, again, I can't do anything with it. All I can do is recall it. Since I'm not a approver, I can't approve my own requisition. We can allow that if we want, but I'm not an approver, so I can't do anything with this. Again, I can click on view history as well if I'm just curious, okay, where are we at with this requisition? So it's going to show me that it's waiting for Adam to do it. All right, last thing I want to look at is I'm going to go back to my purchasing page. So now I've had a few requisitions that have been approved, and so now we're ready to go ahead and create the PO on them. So I've got another navigation list here that's requisitions that are ready for PO. So if I go ahead and click on that list, it's going to just bring up 2 requisitions that we have here. So we've got requisition 2, which has got 2 items on it. We've got a CD-ROM and a printer. And I can actually see that we've got, let me just bring this up here a little bit. I can see that we've got 2 different vendors on this requisition. So I've configured the setup to default in the vendor that we want to purchase these items from. So as my user enters it, they don't have to think at all. The system's putting the vendor, our recommended vendor, in here for me. So I've got 2 different vendors on this requisition. If I go to requisition 3, I've got a completely different requisition where we're getting some memory, and that's going to super sales as well. So I'm ready to purchase these. So I'm just going to go ahead and check here. It's going to grab both of them. Then I can go up to the purchase button here. And when I click on the purchase button, it brings me into this purchase orders preview window. So here's where we can see my POs that are going to get created. One for advanced office systems. So it's got a new PO here, and it's building off of requisition 2. It also shows me that we've got some recent POs for this vendor as well. And if I come down here to Super Sales Inc., it's going to create a new PO off of these 2 requisitions. So it's actually combining requisitions now into a single PO for me. So the system, again, is smart enough to take two requisitions, consolidate them when it can for a certain vendor, and then split off a new PO for another vendor. So at this point, I can go ahead and click the Generate button, and then these POs will be in the system and ready for us to either release out to the vendors or receive against or do our match invoice against at a certain point.
Eric, we need to wrap this one up pretty soon. We still have two more to show.
Yep, I had 10:30, I believe, but I am done. So with that, we can go ahead and turn it over to Marcus.
Great, thanks, Eric. All right, thanks, Eric. Should be ready to go. Okay, so this is Dynamics Nav, and I'm just going to walk through a little bit, probably more on the overall product itself, architecture, and touch on some feature functionality. So this is what they call a role center, and by default, there's several role centers within the application. There's probably 30 to choose from, and the design of these role centers is to allow the user to log in and then deal with the sort of the feature functionality or the areas of the application they need to do their job. So there's an accounting manager, there may be something dealing with purchasing or sales order or shop floor control, that sort of thing. So I'm currently in as the accounting manager, so I'm going to see things that are more broadly related to accounting functions. So across the top, what you see is we've got a ribbon, and the ribbon can be combined into different tabs. Again, you're getting this Outlook, or I'm sorry, this Office metaphor here. So actions, reports, I can set up really a bunch of different tabs and categorize features that I need to access within the application. Over on the left here I have a menu system, and again the menu system is going to allow me to navigate the application. So if I click on the chart of accounts, for example, it takes me to the chart of accounts. I can come back here to my role center. Down here at the bottom is broader categories of menus. So if I clicked on journals, for example, this top menu now is going to be driven to show me just journal information. Okay? This section here is called a queue window. And what the queue window allows me to do is to monitor conditions within my database. I'd be a little remiss to say that it's a dashboard, but it's getting close to that. What it allows me to do, again, is to monitor conditions within my database or monitor certain types of transactions. So in this case, I'm looking at overdue sales documents, and I can see that there's 9 of them. This queue is telling me that there's 4 purchase documents that are due for payment. Each of these queues can also be set up with a color code system on them. So these are neutral. They can be set up with a green, a yellow, or a red status bar up at the top. So if I've got conditions within my system that say, you know, this is a red condition or this is a green condition, these queues can be adjusted to fit that. When I click then into the queue, what that's going to do is it's going to take me to the documents that support that underlying set of data. So this happens to be purchase documents that are due today. So this is taking me to vendor ledger entries. There were 4 of them, and I can see that there's 4 documents here. I could do a count of the documents. I could show a dollar amount if I wanted to. I could do min-maxes. I've got a bunch of calculation options that are available to me. So that's you know, different things that I can set up within the queue. I also have the ability then to actually create transactions from this queue window as well. So if you come over here and said I wanted to enter a cash receipt, I could navigate to journals and then do a cash receipt journal. I can also then click the shortcut queue, shortcut link off of my queue to actually create the cash receipts journal. Just to state it again, the idea being that I don't need to navigate through the system to do my job. I can do my job sitting here at the role center and then also monitor a lot of conditions within my database. A couple other things just to talk about feature functionality since we're here. Incoming documents. NAV does have the ability to receive OCR documents. You do have to subscribe to a service for that, but there's a built-in OCR, which is the optical recognition to create documents. So what this queue is telling me is I've got one that's been transmitted back into NAV ready for me to process. So if I click on this link, it's going to see that it's a customer PO that has come in, and I could actually create then a purchase invoice for it or a sales invoice for it.
Okay, moving down a little bit. I've got a couple of my sections. So this one happens to be my customers, but you can see I can have my accounts and I can have my vendors. And what that allows each user to do is to select a set of customers in this case, but it could be vendors or account numbers or actually inventory items that I want to monitor. So in this case, I've got my customers and I've got 5 customers listed here, and this is going to show me the current balance of their account. The nice thing about this is this window then allows me to actually drill into and look at the transactions that are in that customer's balance. So I can see that they had a balance of 200 and some $1,000. Here are the transactions or the customer ledger entries that make up the balance. So I can look at invoices, credit memos, whatever is outstanding. From here, I can do a bunch of navigation. So I can look at the posted document in this case. So this would allow me to actually look at the invoice that's outstanding. I can see line item information, whatever I want to see on the invoice. Oops. This window also then, if I hit navigate, would allow me to look at the supporting transactions that support the invoice. So for example, the general ledger entry. So I've got that invoice created a 9 line item journal entry. I can get to the journal entry from this window. I can look at tax information if I needed to. Customer ledger entry would be like master customer information that's been affected. The detailed customer ledger entry, if I had multiple payments or let's say partial payments against an invoice, I'd be able to see that detail. Value entry and cost entry information deals with inventory. So if I want to look at the costing detail of my inventory information that's sitting on that invoice, I can get to that. The point being is that I can navigate through Nav very easily. The other thing that I can do in here is I can actually apply documents and unapply documents. So if I have an open payment and an open invoice, I can navigate off of one window, match those up, and apply those through the system and get them cleaned up. The other thing I'm getting is visual cues. So these red ones tell me that they're past a due date. Okay. All right. Moving down here, what I want to show you next is some charting options that are available as well from the Role Center. So on this Role Center, I happen to be looking at some financial performance, but I can select charts and actually have multiple charts set up underneath here. And what this chart is showing me is total revenues, total expenditures, and then I've got this net earnings before interest. So these charts are live. So as I open up the Role Center, as I refresh the Role Center, Nav will update all of the amounts and the transaction details that make up these balances for me. So I've got again, getting close to a dashboard concept. This also allows me to drill into information. So this isn't just static, it's usable. So if I look at revenues for the quarter, for example, I get what looks like, it's called an account schedule, but it's a mini little P&L here. And then each of these numbers, so if I look at my total revenue, I can click this drill and I can see that this line of total revenue is accounts 4,000 to, or 40,000 to 49,950. And I can see what the net change is for this period for that set of accounts. I can drill then into the net change, and you notice that I've got journal entries that make up the transactions, in this case revenue. I have the ability then to navigate, just like we saw before, and it would allow me to look at the journal entry that made this up, which is, there's 124 lines to it, and then the cost entry. So some of these lines must have affected inventory. So it's telling me that I had 102 cost entries that were also made at the time this transaction was generated. A couple other things that I can do from here in terms of feature functionality is I can reverse it. So if I'm drilling into a journal entry, from this drill down I can actually reverse the entry. It'll present it to me and I can review it and then post it through the system. The OCR that we looked at, the optical recognition, not only would that attach a document, I've got other document attachments that I can do. So if I have a purchase order from a vendor that I want to attach to a sales document, and when I drill into the detail behind this, I can select the incoming document. I can also view the incoming document if it was connected to it. So all that to say, from the chart, I can drill all the way back into the supporting documents and the transactions that make up the balance in that chart. Scrolling over here to the top on the right, this is showing me a cash flow forecast. So within Nav, we've got the ability to do both cost accounting as a separate module and cash flow forecasting as a separate module. So in this case, I can hover over here and I can see I've got open sales orders, cash flow, manual revenues, transactions that I've created. I've got liquid funds available, and I've got receivables. I can drill on these. So if I look at the transactions that are backing up my cash flow forecast, you can see I've got posted sales invoices. And again, what you'll see is I've got the show option, which would allow me to look at the transactions. I can show posted documents, and I can navigate once again to look at any details that I would want behind that entry. All right, next little view here is a trial balance. Trial balance looks a lot like this financial performance down at the bottom that's giving me revenues, costs, margins, that sort of thing. These are all adjustable based on how your chart of accounts would look and how you want to see, let's say, a P&L. But as we saw before, any of these blue fields I can drill into. There's my accounts, my vendors. You get the whole point there on that initial view. Okay. All right, next thing I want to do is just give you a little idea of the breadth of the product. So if I click down on this departments menu, this would be the full navigation within Nav. So if I look at departments under financial management, we have general ledger, cash management, cash accounting, and cash flow. So you'll notice that those are 3 separate modules that can be implemented. The nice thing about that is I can have someone that would maybe manage my cost accounting or doing cash flow analysis that doesn't need access to the general ledger in terms of creating transactions and that sort of thing. We've got sales and marketing. There is a little mini CRM, I'm going to say mini CRM in Dynamics Nav. There is also an integration with Microsoft Dynamics CRM that can be configured within the application. But I've got the ability to create quotes and sales orders, sales invoice, full pick, pack, ship capabilities, as well as warehouse management. Within purchasing, I've got planning, so there's some built-in functionality around requisitions as well as planning on inventory, so min-max and reorder policies and that sort of thing that can be set up within the application. And then I've got the ability to obviously create purchase orders, full receiving, put away capabilities, as well as the purchase invoice capabilities. The thing about warehouse management is it can be turned on or turned off, so if you don't want to implement a full warehouse solution within the application, but I still have sales orders and purchase orders, that's great. I don't need to implement the warehouse modules. If I do have warehousing needs, I can then add them into the application. Nav does have a manufacturing module, but the nice thing about it is it also has what they call an assembly module. So an assembly will allow you to do what a lot of people would call kitting, but it's got more features than that. So it would allow me to set up a bill of materials on an inventory item and actually do an assembly order versus a manufacturing order. So for a lot of organizations that don't need the full routing capabilities that manufacturing would give you, using an assembly order will get you most of the way there, and it's just a much simpler, streamlined process to work with. The jobs functionality is around projects, so we got the ability to create projects and timesheets and do billing. Resource planning is around resources connected with jobs, so it could be equipment or people in terms of resources around jobs. There is a service set of modules which would allow you to sell inventory items and then do service work on it, as well as service orders, service invoicing, maintenance, that sort of thing. And then we do have a human resources module. Just briefly under application setup, I just want to touch on 2 things, which is workflow and document approvals. So Nav does have out of the box the ability to do workflow functionality. There's probably I'm going to say 15 base transactions that allow a workflow around them. If the transaction you're looking to create a workflow around doesn't exist yet, it actually can be created. So it's a dynamic workflow set up within the applications, and then notification document approvals are a subset of workflow. So if I want just a quick, easy document approval process, let's say my customer credit limit changes or the order amount is over a certain dollar amount, that's just document approvals. But workflow would be much more complex in terms of multi-layer approvals based on a whole bunch of different types of conditions. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this main setup, and I want to go over here to customers just to show you a little bit how this list view works. So I went from the main role center down to a list view, and one thing about Nav is there's a fairly rigid development process that this application goes through. So when we go to master records, you're going to see a list view. Or if you go to, let's say, a set of transactions, if I go to purchase orders here, I'm going to see, again, a list view. The way Nav navigates is to a list view first and then to what they call a card view. The nice thing about that is in terms of training, everything that I can do and learn about a list view for, in this case, a customer list, applies throughout the application. So in terms of training, I learn how this one list works, and then that training can then be applied throughout the application. So let's talk a little bit about this list view. Couple things I can do if I right click and say choose columns. I can add or remove the columns that I wish to see in this view, and all of these columns are sortable, selectable, that sort of thing. So I can navigate through the set of data that I would want to. Across the top, there's some filter options. So I have this default filter up here, which is just going to do some quick looking across, let's say, name or phone number, contact, that sort of thing. So I could type in name. Let's go over to name and and you see it does a wildcard search. Well, actually, the doesn't because I can't see that. How about CA? Yeah, there. So it's going to do a wildcard search through the name of the, in this case, customers, but you can see it. I don't have to put ampersands or percents or anything like that. It does it by default. If my field isn't listed here or I wanted multi-level filtering, I've got the ability to turn on advanced filters over here. And what the advanced filter would allow me to do is to view any column that's set up on the particular record that I'm looking at. So in this case, it's customer. So I have available to me all the fields that are in the database that relate to my customer, and I can set up a filtering system against those records. The nice thing about this is I can also set up filters against calculated amounts. So there's sales, balance, balance due that show up by default. The way that NAV is architected is NAV calculates all of the numbers of the balances that you're looking at as the record is accessed. So when I access this list of customers, current sales and balance and that sort of thing is calculated on the fly. So the first question we always get is, well, doesn't that make the system really slow? And actually it doesn't. The way NAV was developed is they architected a different type of index at the SQL Server level, and it's actually very different than how SQL Server calculates a balance on an indexed field. NAV does it differently, and it's very fast. They actually have some patented technology around how that thing works. So that's how these fields are calculated and they're live. So the nice thing about that is I can also save these views. So if I click on this balance one, for example, this list is going to show me customers with an outstanding balance. And when I click on it, I know that that's current information that's in the application. Okay, a couple of things that I can do then from this window. I can take any list view and I can just quickly take that and say dump to Excel, and it just dumped my data to Excel. The thing about this data dump is it maintains the columns that I had or the filtering that I had within the application of NAV. So if I've set up some complex filters, let's say I've got a particular salesperson or a territory that I'm responsible for and I want to know what the balance is, I can save that view. When I click on it, I'm going to have just my set of data that's available. All right, over here on the right, talk about fact boxes. So fact boxes, again, allow me to navigate the application very quickly. So as I move to different customers in this case, you'll see that my fact boxes are updated. This allows me to drill into any transaction. So if I look at posted sales shipments, there's 6 of them. If I click on 6, it's going to open up the window and allow me to drill into the details. Again, I can see attached documents. I can navigate to journal entries, all that stuff that I would want to see. All right. One other, I think, kind of cool feature here is the ability to show data as a chart. And what that allows me to do is to configure the view that I'm on. And in this case, I've got customers with balances, and I can see the outstanding balance. So I've got a visual representation of my list. Kind of a neat little feature functionality if you're interested in that. Okay, I'm just going to drop over to the chart of accounts quickly and show you a few other things that we can do with this list view. So as I said before, NAV doesn't keep totals anywhere. So what you're also seeing in terms of general ledger is current balance in terms of net change, balance at date, and a balance of, in this case, my account numbers. What I can do then is I can use filtering, and there's an extremely powerful filtering engine within NAV that actually allows me to filter transactions by date as well. So if I come in here and I say, well, actually, I want to see the balance as of 12/31/16. Let's go 17 because I think that's where my date's changed. Yeah, there we go. So what this is telling me is I'm filtering as of 12/31/17. So what I can see is this is the net change for the period in cash. This is the balance of that account at the date. And then balance is the current balance in my system right now. So based on this date filter, you can see I quickly looked at the net change, the balance at date, and the balance of a given account number. Now, just like other list views we've seen, all of these fields are drillable. So if I want to look at the net change for a particular period, I can see, well, there was one journal entry in that period for that amount. I can again navigate, I can look at the document, I can reverse it. So that's a powerful feature around this date filtering. Date filtering really works throughout the system. So if I'm looking at inventory transactions and I want to look at a subset of them, I can very quickly use a date filter to view my transactions. Okay. All right, so given time, I'm going to switch over to Dynamics 365, at least to give you a view of that application as well. So again, this is Nav. When we look at Dynamics 365, first thing we want to talk about is really the architecture. So when we look at SL, GP, and Nav, you've got options for deployment. So you've got the ability to install the application locally on hardware that is within inside of your organization. All three of those applications allow for hosting options, so I could hire a hosting organization, co-locate stuff. I could go to Azure. All three of those applications do that very well. Both GP and Nav allow you to access the application via a web browser. So I can natively, depending on even how I deploy, I can access the application through a web browser. What I've got with Dynamics 365 is only a web interface to the application, and it's architected in such a way that I am essentially renting the application, and I pay by user per month for the ability to access the application. So Microsoft has Dynamics 365 installed in the cloud, and I'm accessing a subset of that application for my organization. And again, I can set up users, and I have full security capabilities and all of that, but I don't have any hardware installed. I don't have any software installed within my organization. I'm connecting to everything through the cloud. So let's look at a little bit of the feature functionality within Dynamics 365. The first thing you'll notice is I'm in a browser versus having a Windows application logged in. But what you'll see is I've got a fairly robust application. So if we look at the role center that's been created, I've got a menu system on the left, and I've got a ribbon across the top. I have the ability, just like we saw within Nav actually, to look at color coding within the application, and then within these queues I have the ability to drill into the underlying applications, in this case overdue purchase documents, the visual queue showing them red that they're past due. I've got the ability to look at my accounts, my vendors. I can set up charts with cash flow forecasts and that sort of thing. And again, these are drillable just like we saw previously with Nav. The big limitation that you have with Dynamics 365 is the ability to customize it. So I have the ability to maybe rearrange some columns and that sort of thing, but I don't have the ability to create new pages or to do any major customizations to the application. I've got some, again, minor configuration options, but I can't do any major configuration settings to the application. That being said, I've got a lot of feature functionality available to me. So I'm in here as the, I think I'm actually in here as the accountant right now, and I'm going to switch over to, yeah, I'm in as the role accountant. I'm going to switch over to the business manager just so that you've got a little more view at the feature functionality within the application. I've got to sign out and then sign back in, and what you'll notice is my role center is going to be updated. So based on my role and the security that I have, my menu systems are going to be reconfigured within Dynamics 365, again pertaining to what my job would be. Takes a second to load that up. All right, so you see that it's similar, but yet it's different in terms of what I have access to. And what I want to do is just briefly look at this menu here to give you an idea of the breadth of the application. So we have fully functional financial modules, which is general ledger. We've got chart of accounts, financial reports. I still have the ability to do multiple currencies if I wanted to, as well as banking. In addition to this, I still have my cash flow functionality within the application. If I look at the sales side of the transactions available to me, I have there we go. You can see I've got customers, I've got quotes, orders, sales invoices, credit memos, and again, posted transactions if I want to view those. There's some interesting things in terms of navigation. I've got a couple of different views as to how do I see my information. I do have the ability to look at fact boxes over here on the right with full drill down capabilities. When I navigate into the application, I still have the ability to make changes and updates and that sort of thing within my customers, for example. One little nuance in this application is instead of just viewing my data in Excel, I have this option to actually edit my data in Excel. So I've already set that up and I've dumped this into Excel. And what I end up with is this little Dynamics add-in over here on the right. And I have the ability then, in this case, to look at my customers, and I can do all this stuff in Excel just like we saw before with other applications. The difference here is I have the ability to make changes to, in this case, customer records or add customers, and I can publish those back into Dynamics 365. Now, it's still going to validate all my data. So in the case of, let's say, this balance in my local currency, if I wanted to make that balance $40,000 and attempt to update that, you'll notice over here on the right, that's a non-editable field. It's read-only because it's calculated within the application. If I come over here to IC, which is intercompany partner code, I could set up a value there, but it will be validated once it's published. So I can't get garbage data back into the application. It's gonna validate everything before I send it back. But again, the nice idea here is I've got the ability to update data back from Excel, write it back to Dynamics 365. I can filter this and I can do some further design in terms of how my spreadsheet works, but that's a little different, nuanced in terms of the three applications as to some feature functionality. Go down here to purchasing. So we've got the ability to do purchase orders, purchase invoice, the full accounts payable side of the transactions. I've got the ability to use approvals. So you notice this isn't workflows, but it's approvals. So in terms of document approval and transactions approvals, I've got that built into the system. I do have, again, advanced finance, so cash flow is in here. I also have the ability to do a full fixed assets module. In terms of self-service, we do have the ability to enter timesheets, and there is a jobs module within Dynamics 365. So if you're working with projects and project accounting, I can do that. So I can add time, I can assign resources, I can do invoicing and billing, if you will, as well as some cost comparisons within the jobs module of Dynamics 365. All right. So I'm going to take us back to the home window, and we are at 55, so 10 minutes to, and I will turn it back over to Jack at this point. Jack, you're muted if you're talking.
Thanks, Marcus. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, good. Good. So thanks, everyone, for attending. We really appreciate your time today. I'll follow up with the key person at each location. A number of people had a lot of people attend, so I'll just follow up with the individual that's kind of leading the thought process here on your end. I wanted to thank you for your time, and hopefully you enjoyed the education and the chance to get a first taste for each of these products. And so,
well, we've got two questions, Jack. I think we can answer them.
Oh, great. Great. Why don't you take them?
Okay, so the first question is, can you edit Excel documents created in Nav similar to what you showed in Dynamics 365? No, you can't yet. I think that's feature functionality that's coming. So it's just in Dynamics 365 right now. And then the next question is the Jobs addition to Dynamics 365 a recent addition? Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Dynamics 365. The way Microsoft is working with this application is they are making, I believe it's monthly rollouts or monthly updates to Dynamics 365 at this point. So what happens, because it's software as a service and it's hosted and it's maintained by Microsoft, they will do bug fixes and upgrades on a periodic basis. So you don't need to do anything as an end user to have essentially feature functionality added to your system or upgrades being made to your system. Microsoft does that, and then the feature functionality is just going to show up and be a part of your system. Then you can choose to implement that functionality or not implement it, but it's not a separate sort of install process that you have to go through. Jobs is an example of that. So that was a component that's been fairly recently added into Dynamics 365. So I think that answers that question.
Good. Any more questions? We have another minute or two if you have some more questions. And if you don't, then you get a little bit of extra time. And so thank you very much for attending again, and look forward to determining your level of interest in this as we move forward. Thanks, everyone.